Hi, I'm Anita Lane, the creator of the Founder Chronicles, the podcast where we chronicle the critical decisions that founders make along their startup journey. Come learn and grow with us. You ready? Let's go.
Thanks, Anita. Today on the Founder Chronicles podcast, we are diving into the groundbreaking new book by futurist Mike Johns entitled Death of a Job, The Future of Work in the Age of AI. And this book really hits on something crucial for all of us: how rapidly artificial intelligence is changing what work even looks like.
Absolutely. It moves beyond just, basic automation. It really explores how AI is getting capable of tackling increasingly complex tasks, which has these profound impacts on the job market.
And that's what makes this so relevant for you listening. This isn't some far-off abstract prediction. Johns draws on insights from, well, a lot of different places.
Right. He mentions people like Elon Musk, referencing his comments at the World Government Summit about potential massive unemployment.
Yeah, it really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? What happens when traditional jobs, well, when they aren't the norm anymore? What does meaning look like then?
That's the core question, I think. The book's dedicated to his son, which really highlights this theme of legacy, of preparing the next generation for a fundamentally different world of work.
It's about more than just economic shifts. It's about purpose.
Exactly. And you can tell Johns has spoken to a wide range of people: policy folks like Giovanni Capriglione, tech visionaries like Salim Ismail, scientists, even Sophia the Robot.
So a real breadth of perspective informing this. Okay, so our mission here, as we deep dive into Death of a Job, is to pull out the most important insights. How is AI changing work, and what does it mean for us, for society?
Let's do it. One of the big claims early on is that the next 5 years could bring more change than the last 50, primarily driven by AI's evolution.
That's a bold statement. Sets the stage.
It really does. It underlines the speed and scale we're talking about. It's not gradual. It feels like it's accelerating.
Okay, so where does he start unpacking this? One of the first big areas seems to be the impact on different communities. He points out how automation is already hitting women hard, especially in clerical and admin roles.
Yeah, that's a key point. He gives the example of bank tellers, where women make up a huge percentage, something like 85%. And those jobs are definitely vulnerable.
And it's often because AI is good at those repetitive, process-driven tasks, right? Which lines up with a lot of those traditional roles.
Precisely. And the worry isn't just job loss. It's potentially widening those existing economic gaps if we're not careful. Plus, there's the whole issue of gender bias potentially getting baked into the AI algorithms themselves.
That's a serious concern. And the book also talks about the challenges for BIPOC workers.
Right. Often overrepresented in sectors like manufacturing, logistics, administrative support, again, areas right in the crosshairs of automation.
So it's like a double hit: job displacement risk and potential bias in AI hiring systems.
That's the concern Johns raises. He references studies suggesting that AI, if not carefully designed and monitored, can rank marginalized candidates lower. It could really exacerbate inequalities.
And he ties some of this potential risk to deregulation, doesn't he? Mentioning things like the scaling back of EEOC guidance on responsible AI use.
He does. The implication is that without strong oversight, ensuring equity in AI deployment, especially in hiring for federal contractors or just generally, becomes much harder. There's a table in the book projecting increased vulnerability for BIPOC workers by 2030 if things continue unchecked.
Okay, so that sets a pretty sobering context. The book then seems to pivot towards the broader idea of, well, potentially the end of capitalism as we know it, and how different political visions engage with AI.
Yeah, it contrasts different approaches. You have, say, the Biden administration's focus, which has been more on regulation, like that executive order on safe, secure, and trustworthy AI.
Right, trying to put some guardrails in place.
Versus a potential Trump approach, which the book characterizes based on past actions and statements as more focused on deregulation, prioritizing innovation and U.S. competitiveness, maybe seeing oversight as, well, hindering progress.
Kind of a get-out-of-the-way approach to let the private sector lead.
Something like that. Johns notes how some big tech companies like Google seem to roll back some of their own responsible AI principles and suggests this aligns with that kind of deregulatory mindset.
So AI within that vision is more about national security, economic strength, maybe doubling down on research, but with fewer rules.
That seems to be the interpretation. Less focus on potential social engineering, more on technological supremacy.
Interesting. So moving from policy to impact, the book talks about the future of jobs overall. What are the projections looking like?
Well, it cites the World Economic Forum predicting significant churn, something like 170 million new jobs created by 2030, but also 92 million displaced.
Net growth, but huge disruption underneath.
Exactly. And you see the surge in AI-specific roles already. The book mentions over 16,000 postings just in October 2024 for jobs like generative AI engineers, computer vision engineers.
Wow. But what about the skills needed for these jobs, or even for jobs that aren't purely AI?
That's crucial. The emphasis shifts heavily towards uniquely human skills. Critical thinking, creativity, adaptability, collaboration. These become more valuable as AI handles routine tasks. Think augmented roles, not just replaced ones.
But there are risks with this rapid innovation, right? If there aren't guardrails.
Definitely. Job displacement without adequate support systems, the potential for discrimination in automated hiring we talked about, and risks if AI is deployed carelessly in government functions.
The book mentions California trying to lead on AI regulation, sort of a counterpoint to potential federal deregulation.
Yeah, highlighting that state-level actions might become increasingly important.
Okay, let's dive into the big purge section. This sounds dramatic. Techno layoffs.
It is pretty stark. It's about widespread job displacement across many sectors. The book talks about potential government job losses due to AI-driven efficiencies.
Right, streamlining processes leading to fewer personnel needs.
Exactly. And similar trends potentially in the UK civil service. Then you have big tech, like potential layoffs at Google, maybe up to 30,000 people as AI gets integrated into ad sales, HR, cloud units.
30,000. That's huge. And the automotive industry.
Massive impact predicted there. Autonomous vehicles could displace up to 5 million jobs in the U.S. alone. Think truck drivers, taxi drivers.
Mostly truck drivers, right?
Yeah.
The book mentions 3.5 million truckers and how they're predominantly white males.
Yes, about 62% of the workforce. And the estimation is that 94% of long-haul operator hours could be automated. It's a huge demographic impact.
And it's not just drivers, this white-collar recession concept.
Right. Generative AI putting pressure on roles like financial analysts, junior lawyers, marketing strategists. The idea of virtual employee economics suggests companies might see AI as a cost-effective alternative for certain professional tasks.
So, white-collar, blue-collar, it's hitting everywhere. Fast food, retail.
Yep. Examples like Domino's autonomous delivery, Pizza Hut's robotic pizza trucks, KFC's automated restaurant models, they're all in the book. It shows automation moving into service industries, too.
Even academia, military.
Apparently so. AI automating research assistance, logistics, maintenance. The book also touches on education with AI essay graders, fashion with AI models, entertainment with AI scripting, or deepfakes impacting actors and VFX artists.
It really feels pervasive.
Yeah.
And the gender disparity comes up again.
Yes. The book reiterates that women might face a higher risk overall in these AI-driven layoffs.
But there's pushback. The Hollywood writers' strike.
A key example. They fought specifically over AI and secured protections in their contract. AI can't write original scripts, studios have to disclose AI use, writers retain credit, and they can't be forced to use AI.
That's significant. Shows collective action can make a difference.
Definitely. The book then touches on agentic AI agents that can act autonomously, make decisions, even communicate with other agents to manage complex tasks like supply chains or customer service, leaner companies potentially.
Okay, so after all that disruption, is there an upside? The book mentions the creator economy.
Yes, it presents this as a potential new goldmine, a shift away from the traditional 9-to-5 towards more flexibility, continuous learning, building your own brand online.
And smartphones make it accessible, right? Lowering the barrier to entry for creating media.
Exactly. It democratizes access. And the book highlights how this can be empowering, particularly for marginalized communities, young women, the hip-hop community, people facing economic barriers.
Brands are leaning into this too, working with creators.
Huge shift in marketing. Brands are increasingly engaging directly with creators. The projected growth for the creator economy is substantial, looking out to 2029.
And kids want to be influencers now.
The book mentions a stat, like 1 in 4 American kids aspire to it, but it also cautions that it's stratified. There are recreational creators, semi-pros, pros, experts. Making real money isn't easy.
Still, the scale is massive, over 200 million creators worldwide, a multi-billion-dollar market. Platforms like YouTube, Instagram are huge launchpads.
And even universities are adapting, like Arizona State University's Future of Work program, trying to equip people for this landscape.
But circling back to the risks, The book specifically calls out the impact on women again.
Yeah, it emphasizes the double whammy, higher risk of displacement and underrepresentation in actually building the AI. And this leads into the emerging crisis of needs, not in employment, education, or training.
And most needs in the U.S. are women.
2/3, according to the book. It's a worrying trend.
Which leads perfectly into this idea of de-skilled, upskill, reskill, be skilled. What's the core message here?
It's about recognizing that AI can automate complex tasks, potentially de-skilling some roles or leveling the value of expertise. So the imperative isn't just to get skills, but to adopt a mindset of continuous learning to be skilled.
So be skilled is more than just having skills. It's about adaptability, mastery.
Exactly. Depth of expertise, problem-solving ability, and crucially, the willingness and ability to keep learning. It's an economic necessity for creating value.
And there are resources for this, upskilling programs.
Yes, but the book stresses assessing program quality accreditation, relevance, instructors, career support, cost. It's not just about doing training, but doing the right training.
And this connects back to the NEET crisis.
Yes, seeing it as a growing problem with real economic and social consequences. But AI could also be part of the solution, like personalized learning paths for workforce development.
Okay, let's talk generative AI specifically. Its impact seems huge.
Profound. The book projects that by 2027, it will significantly change the what, how, and why of work. The vision for 2029 includes AI-augmented roles, more project-based work, remote collaboration being standard, and continuous learning being essential.
It revisits those WEF numbers. 19 million AI jobs created by 2025, 9 million displaced. But then mentions a much larger potential figure.
Yeah, up to 300 million jobs worldwide potentially lost by 2030 in roles like manufacturing, data entry, customer service, admin support. It's a staggering number.
But new opportunities too, right? Requiring tech skills.
Absolutely. AI, data analysis, cybersecurity, programming. But the transition is the challenge. McKinsey estimated 120 million workers might need retraining in just the next 3 years.
So big roles for government and business in retraining, safety nets, ethical deployment.
Essential, according to the book. And for workers, especially in routine roles, the message is adapt, learn tech skills, embrace lifelong learning.
The book draws parallels to past tech revolutions, the printing press, the automobile.
Right. Framing AI as a natural progression, augmenting human capabilities, not just replacing labor, like a musician using a synthesizer or an architect using CAD software. It's about human-robot symbiosis.
Humans bring creativity, emotional intelligence. Robots bring automation, data analysis.
That's the ideal synergy. But what about those who struggle to adapt? The book calls them the awkwards or the obsoletes.
That's a tough label. Who are they?
People struggling in the low-skilled job market as traditional pathways erode fast food with kiosks and robots, retail with e-commerce and cashierless stores, manufacturing with advanced robotics.
So what does society do?
The book suggests things like targeted retraining, stronger social support, maybe even redefining work to value contributions beyond traditional jobs, but it stops short of fully endorsing one solution at this point.
And it highlights specific challenges for minority communities within this group.
Yes, emphasizing the need for community support, equitable access to education and tech, and addressing discrimination. It frames it as a collective responsibility to ensure AI's benefits are shared.
This sounds like where universal basic income might come in.
Exactly. The book introduces UBI as a potential innovative solution, maybe emerging around 2028, to cushion these disruptions, especially with the rise of the precarious gig economy.
Referencing Andrew Yang's freedom dividend idea.
Yeah.
Providing basic security.
Yes. Presenting it not just as a safety net, but potentially as a catalyst for growth, innovation, supporting small businesses, enabling people to take risks or pursue purpose-driven lives.
But acknowledges the debates, too.
Yeah.
Feasibility, work incentives.
Oh, yeah. It notes the concerns and implementation challenges and mentions criticisms about whether it's the most effective way to address inequality compared to more targeted programs. But it definitely presents it as a serious option for the obsoletes.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Control plus alt plus defeat.
Yeah.
The Gen Z uprising. What's this about?
It's about the generational dynamics with AI. Younger workers, Gen Z, and millennials are often at the forefront of using AI at work.
But they're also anxious about it.
That's the paradox. Digital natives, but feeling anxious about job impact, maybe feeling ill-equipped. And the book mentions a resistance toolkit, developing things like data poisoning, ghost prompting, synthetic strikes.
Well, now actively pushing back. What about trust?
Another paradox. They show less confidence in spotting phishing, yet a significant portion apparently trusts AI more than humans for certain work issues. There's an adoption gap, too, leading in usage despite concerns.
So what should companies do?
Invest in training, be transparent, involve employees in AI design. Success hinges on trust, productivity, morale. There's also this independent movement idea, a rebellion for human skills, not totally against tech, like the Waymo car vandalism incidents or online backlash trends, choosing jobs based on values.
Exactly, it's complex. The book proposes comparing an AI human focus versus a human AI focus in companies.
Which leads naturally to rethinking education, doesn't it?
Absolutely critical. The book argues for a radical transformation towards a skills-based system, given the job churn AI will cause.
It notes existing disparities in U.S. education and says we need to integrate AI into learning, personalize it, maybe look at international models like Lithuania or South Korea.
So the path forward is skills, AI integration, lifelong learning models addressing state differences, partnering with industry.
That's the gist. And a big emphasis on local action, grassroots efforts, making AI literacy democratic.
Using organizations like the Urban League, Boys and Girls Clubs, community colleges.
Yes, great examples in the book. AI career accelerators, mobile labs, after-school AI zones, micro-credentials through community colleges, AI mentorship networks.
And policy can help. Grants, transparency mandates, tax incentives.
Policy levers are crucial for community success. The book even uses Detroit as a case study for a potential community-led AI revival. It's about hyperlocal pathways to AI equity.
Which reinforces that message. Become the lifetime student.
It's non-negotiable now, essential for adapting, staying relevant, pivoting careers.
And resources are everywhere, right? YouTube, community colleges, AI language tools like Babbel, local outreach.
Loads of options. The key is accessibility and continuous engagement. The book compares needed skills in 2025 versus 2030, things like advanced AI skills, creative thinking, resilience, leadership, curiosity, even environmental stewardship and systems thinking become more prominent.
Okay, let's look at the class of 2025. What's their outlook by 2030?
A potentially shaky start, graduating into uncertainty, tech layoffs, maybe government hiring instability. It takes a psychological toll.
But the job distribution shifts.
Yes. The projection shows increases in green energy, the care economy, AI specialist roles, but decreases in traditional tech jobs and other conventional roles.
Driven by automation, the green transition, AI growth, and the need for human-centric roles.
Exactly. Challenges are competition, skills gaps, the psychological impact, but opportunity lies in skills-based hiring. Solutions involve lifelong learning for students, reskilling by employers, and supported policies.
How does this change the value of work, especially considering demographics?
Well, the 2025 landscape already shows automation risks for Black and brown workers, gig economy growth, maybe some blockchain inclusion potential, AI collaboration starting. And by 2030...
The projection is disproportionate displacement for Black and brown workers, but maybe blockchain empowerment for financial inclusion, women potentially leveraging decentralized platforms, and AI collaboration demanding upskilling for everyone, especially marginalized groups.
It's a complex picture of risks and potential new avenues.
Which leads to participatory futures. What's that?
It's presented as a proactive way to handle these shifts, getting everyone involved, workers, communities, companies, policymakers, to identify risks and co-create solutions.
Like what kind of solutions?
Reskilling programs, defining new job categories, exploring policies like UBI or job guarantees, supporting entrepreneurship, ensuring AI is human-centered.
And this is especially beneficial for BIPOC individuals and women.
Yes, because it aims to address systemic inequalities by centering marginalized voices, building community wealth, and challenging existing power structures. It has 5 pillars: play, immerse, sense, create, deliberate.
Interesting framework. Finally, the book looks beyond work.
Yeah, broadening the definition of work to purposeful activity. It touches briefly on perspectives from different faiths, work as a gift, a duty, worship.
And how work has evolved over the last century. Industrial, office, digital, and now this future focused on human skills and purpose.
Right, and it asks, what happens beyond formal work? Deeper relationships, personal growth, service, spiritual fulfillment, things our identity can be rooted in besides just our job title.
Suggesting work itself can be reshaped. Flexible models, portfolio careers, more purpose-driven roles, better life integration.
It's a more holistic view.
So, as we conclude our deep dive into Mike John's Death of a Job, the central message is clear. The rise of AI is fundamentally changing the world of work, creating both significant hurdles and exciting new possibilities.
It really pushes you, the listener, to think about how these changes will affect your own life and career path. Which of these emerging trends or necessary skills might be something for you to explore further, what resonates.
Absolutely. A lot to think about there. Thank you for joining us. We turn it back over to you, Anita.
That was great. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope you gleaned an insight or two from this deep dive. Founder Chronicles is original content written by the Sensei Communications team and narrated by AI. If you have a story that you'd like chronicled on our podcast, let us know. Send an email to mystory@founderchroniclespodcast.com. Until next time.